Hey guys, welcome back to more NPA Week 1 coverage. Today we're covering a pretty good one between the Pixies and the Rollouts. I go by Scribble, I'm a VGC player, but today I'm more of a fan and a witness to these two demons of VGC playing today. Pwny person on the left is Paul Chua. He's one of the best VGC players of all time. He's a billion-time regional champ. He has just as many second-place finishes and top cuts. He won 2 different EUICs during Scarlet and Violet. If you have any passing knowledge about VGC, you know this guy. You know that he's insanely good at the game, one of the best players of all time. And his opponent is Animus, aka Kyle Livinghouse, who is a very strong competitor in his own right. Regional winner, several top cuts during Scarlet and Violet. Both of these players are highly, highly accomplished. Kyle's bringing this kind of new wave Mega Blastoise team that's been really picking up steam after a strong showing at the Japanese national qualifiers. Features this Silk Scarf, Last Resort Kangaskhan, and a pretty cool Scarf Vivian plus Trick Room mode to all helps out this Mega Blastoise setup and get to sweeping. Paul is bringing this Reigns plus Screen Sableye and Archaludon combo. We've been seeing get a lot of positive coverage and play from players like Aaron Cybertron Zhang. Though his version is a little more unique, he has a Mega Venusaur option as well as a Sylveon, which has been popping up all over the place. So, two great players. We have some interesting teams, interesting weather dynamics going on. So, let's get into this match and see who comes out on top. So, we're going to start with the Venusaur lead and a Sylveon lead for Paul Chua, as Animus is going to do the Vivian and Kangaskhan lead. Immediately, we know that Kangaskhan is threatening big damage with that Fake Out Last Resort as well as Sleep Powder from the Vivian. Paul is going to switch out the Venusaur to get that free +1 defense boost from the Fake Out as Sleep Powder fails into the Sylveon, but we know that Sleep Powder is going to outspeed and put something to sleep here as it goes for the Archaludon. Kangaskhan's going to go for Last Resort here into the Sylveon slot. Critical hit's actually going to take it out in one shot, and I believe that crit mattered, so super unfortunate start for Paul Chua. As he switches back the Venusaur, we know that it can't be put to sleep, so the Fair Giraffe's going to come out instead, as the Venusaur just protects against the Last Resort. 1 turn to sleep, burn for the Archaludon. As for Giraffe is now in a pretty good spot to do whatever it wants to do, it'd be Psychic or Trick Room. Venusaur is going to go for a Sludge Bomb, get a nice poison off on the Kangaskhan, and do about half, as Flash Cannon just almost picks up the KO, not quite, but Poison will finish it off, as for Giraffe's going to go for a Trick Room here, and take out, and Poison's going to take out the Kangaskhan, which means that Torkoal gets free entry here with 4 turns of Trick Room to kind of do whatever it wants. Pretty scary spot for Paul, as Archaludon's just going to protect to make sure it doesn't get immediately destroyed by this eruption. Venusaur has to go down here. So Paul's only chance here really is to see if Sableye's Rain Dance and Screens can help it live against the Torkoal for 3 more turns, which is going to be a pretty hard sell. Torkoal's going to go for a Helping Hand Earth Power. Almost going to take out the Archaludon, not quite. Archer's going to go for an Electro Shot, hoping to take this Torkoal down. Not quite enough. Torkoal's going to hang on and be able to spam more Earth Powers into this Archaludon slot for 2 more turns. Sableye can't do anything here. It does not have any attacking moves. It's running Dual Screens, Rain Dance, Encore. So it all comes down to if this Archaludon is able to get off another hit into this Torkoal slot, by getting through Trick Room. Unfortunately, does not get the double protect, and Torkoal is going to be able to finish that off with an Earth Power. So this first game is going to go to Animus, Kyle Livinghouse, as Sableye has no way of doing any damage, and so the game's just over right there on the spot. Okay, for game 2 here, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of adjustments Paul is thinking about. The Vivian was able to get off quite a bit of pressure with the Sleep Powder, and unfortunately he lost that Sylveon pretty early on because of that critical hit Last Resort. So we're going to see what kind of adjustments Paul is thinking for this game and how Kyle's going to respond. To start, we're going to have that same lead of Venusaur and Sylveon, as we're going to see a switch up from Kyle's side, actually bringing the Blastoise instead of the Kangaskhan with the Vivillon still there. First thing first, going for that Hurricane, trying to get rid of the Venusaur immediately, does not quite pick up the KO, as Giga Drain is going to go straight into the Blastoise, pick up a ton of damage, heal a lot, and the Water Spout's going to do basically nothing because of all that damage, and Hyper Voice going to finish off that Blastoise, do a ton of damage to Vivillon, as Kyle's very much on the back foot here, goes into the Basculegion, which he ended up bringing this time around. Hurricane goes into the Sylveon slot, does not do much damage. Giga Drain going to do a ton of damage into the Basculegion, heal that Venusaur all the way back up to full. Last Respects goes into the Sylveon slot, picks up the KO there. As Paul goes into the Archaludon here, he has a pretty free matchup into these two. Hurricane's not going to be doing too much. Double Protect, maybe just a scout here from Paul, as Hurricane goes into the Venusaur slot. Informs him that he can just switch up for free here, go into the Sableye as Helping Hand, plus Hurricane is actually going to miss the Sableye. That may have picked up the KO, as Flash Cannon going to, unfortunately, drop the Vivillon for Kyle, as it all comes down to this Basculegion. Can this Bass pick up a one-hit KO on the Archaludon? Sableye going to set up that Reflect to make sure that Archaludon won't be taking as much damage as it otherwise would. Helping Hand plus Last Respects, 150 base power. Although Archaludon is very, very tanky, it's just going to live. Get that stamina boost, though I don't think it really matters at this point. Flash Cannon going to take out the Basculegion, and this game is over, as Furdraft can basically not do any damage to Archaludon anymore. Rain Dance can be set up, and Paul Chua is going to take that game. So pretty back and forth so far between Paul and Kyle. We've seen some interesting adjustments, mostly from Kyle's side, bringing the two water types, the Blastoise and the Basculegion. We'll see if he pivots back to his Game 1 plan here, and we'll see if Paul makes any adjustments, as he did lead the same thing in both games. We're actually going to see the exact same lead yet again, the Venusaur and Sylveon from Paul Chua's side, as Kyle goes back to his Game 1 lead, the Kangaskhan, the Vivillon. Vivillon threatening that Hurricane, threatening the Sleep Powder. Double Protect from Paul's side just to scout out what it's going to do. Fake Out goes into the Venusaur, not going to do anything, but it does put online the Last Resort. So Last Resort offering huge threats into either of these Pokemon. Sleep Powder going to go into the Sylveon. Sludge Bomb going to kick up the poison yet again and do half to the Kangaskhan. Last Resort does huge damage, no crit this time, so Sylveon will hang on. It takes its mandatory turn of sleep, as Kangaskhan only really one thing to do. It's just going to go down to the Sludge Bomb. Furdraft comes in for the Vivillon, reset what it can do with Choice Scarf, as Torkoal's going to come in here, threatening with that Helping Hand and Eruption, although we're going to see a switch back out to Vivillon, baiting the Earth Power from the Venusaur, so very, very good play from Kyle, as the Psychic's going to go into the Venusaur, pick up huge damage. So Kyle's kind of cooking right now. Sleep Powder into the slot to cover for a switch, plus the Psychic to make sure that that Venusaur is going to go down or punish whatever is going to switch in. Vivillon barely hangs on through the Sludge Bomb, as Furdraft is now totally free here to set up a Trick Room. We'll see if that's what it wants to do here, as a Sleep Powder is going to go into the Archaludon slot, of course, keep the Furdraft safe. As the Furdraft actually just goes for a Psychic, it's predicting the switch out, because that was going into the Dark type Sableye. Pretty interesting. Archaludon takes another turn of sleep, as the Yawn is actually clicked into the Torkoal slot to put that on a timer as Trick Room is set up. So, pretty awesome play here. Kyle's going to go into the Vivillon, as Protect is clicked by the Archaludon just to protect itself. Psychic's going to be clicked into his own Vivillon slot just to make sure that he can bring back the Torkoal as soon as possible. So super cool play there from Kyle, as Torkoal comes back in. Giraffe is drowsy, but it's going to be able to get off a very powerful boosted Helping Hand. Charcoal boosted Eruption. Going to take out the Sylveon. Almost going to take out the Archaladon, but it's going to hang on due to the light screen. And a super unfortunate miss of the Draco Meteor there. Probably would not have picked up the KO on Torkoal, but it would have been close. As Sableye now comes in, Giraffe's going to take a mandatory turn of sleep. Archaladon's going to protect. As Sableye is going to set up a light screen and make sure that it just lives a little bit longer. Earth Power going into the Archaladon slot. It's got a little bit more to go as one Trick Room turn is left. The double protect will go off. Archaladon's going to live the turn. Rain Dance gets set up, so Archaladon can get off this Electro Shot. We're going to need to see Giraffe wake up here. I believe it's guaranteed to wake up. I think it's taken 2 turns of sleep. Encore because Sableye cannot do anything else. Electro Shot is going to go into the Torkoal slot, who just protects. So it's free to keep going for these Helping Hand boosted Earth Powers because Sableye can't do anything in the other slot. He's going to see it's just going to Encore. Nothing's going to happen. As Earth Power will pick up the Archaladon eventually, leaving Paul with just one Pokemon that can't do any damage, meaning Kyle Livinghouse will take this game 2-1, getting the win for the Rollouts in a super interesting back-and-forth game, showing off 2 pretty new emergent teams, piloted very well by some very, very, very talented players. So thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to subscribe to Smug on VGC to see more coverage of NPA and other stuff like that. And yeah, we'll see you later.